Hey everybody, it's Matt here, and I thought I would check in with yet another video carrying on with the reviews of the Beach Boys albums in order. And so, what we come to now is their sixth studio album, released July 13th, 1964. All Summer Long. There's the front cover. There's your back cover. Got your nice heavy stock cardboard sleeve, laminated front. Good artwork on the front. Their early albums all have pretty good artwork, with the exception of Little Deuce Coupe and their second album, Surfing USA. I'm not too crazy about those covers, but everything else, really good artwork. This actually, pictures on this were taken on Paradise Cove Beach, which is near Malibu, California, which is the same place where they took the picture for their debut album in 1962. So, yeah, this is the Analog Productions. Is that right? Yeah, Analog Productions mono reissue that just came out, 180 gram vinyl. These are all limited edition, though I'm not sure what number they're limited to. They did a really good job on these. They sound great. So, July 13th, 1964, it's their second album of that year. It's the second album that they released after the Beatles had landed in America, but the first one that really has any kind of influence of that, probably because the earlier album, Shutdown Volume 2, came out in March of '64, but was recorded before the Beatles got here, for what that's worth. This is also kind of their final album to deal with the summer fun and surfing and hot rod music. They would start to move on to a little more sophisticated themes in their music after this, by and large, not completely, but by and large. Murray Wilson, the father of Brian, Dennis, and Carl Wilson, was their manager, was fired in the early stages of making this album by Brian Wilson. That led to problems down the road, and they had never really gotten along anyway, so a little bit of a drama going on there. This went to number 4 on the charts, and so, yeah, kind of interesting on the back here. Each of the members writes something up about themselves. Dennis Wilson says, "They say I live a fast life. Maybe I just like a fast life of driving my Stingray and XKE, playing my drums and meeting so many girls. I wouldn't give up this life for anything in the world. It won't last forever," which unfortunately, 22 years later would prove to be prophetic. So yeah, what to do. We got, just go right into the songs, I guess. We have side one, first song, I Get Around, is of course a big hit that everyone knows. That was their first #1 song in America. You always know the Beach Boys are known for their harmonies and great singing, and this is probably one of the best examples of that famous Beach Boy harmony. It's a very energetic, upbeat song, one of the great summer songs of all time. Happy, fun, upbeat. Give it a 10 out of 10. Next song is All Summer Long, which reminds me of summer. Obviously, reminds me of that time right before school when you kind of had your fill of summer and you're looking forward to fall and school starting, but you're still kind of enjoying those last days of summer. It kind of captures that essence for me. It's a ballad type song. It's a pretty good song. I'll go ahead and give that an 8. Next song is Hushabye by Doc Pomus. It was written in 1956 for a doo-wop group called the Mystics, who had a hit with it. It's a cover, of course. The singer is singing kind of a lullaby and singing to the angels above to protect his baby, I guess. I don't know, wife, girlfriend, or daughter that he's singing about. It's a nice song, you know. It's nothing spectacular, but it's nice. I'll give that one a 6 on Hushabye. Next song up is Little Honda. Again, another famous Beach Boys hit that we all know. Good song. but at this point in time, it kind of feels to me like it's a step backwards. It kind of feels like something that would have been fine on their first two or three albums, but at this point where Brian Wilson is growing as a songwriter and a musical producer and arranger, kind of feels like a throwback song, a little bit lazy and resting on their laurels. It's not a bad song. It just, maybe I would have liked it more if it was on the first two albums, one of the first two albums. But here it just feels like a step back. It's a hit. Everyone knows it. I give it a 6. Um, Fifth song, side one, is called "We'll Run Away," which is kind of a, doesn't sound like, but it reminds me of "She's Leaving Home" by the Beatles that would come out in '67. This, of course, is '64 album. Uh, Guy and a girl want to run off and get married. Everyone's saying they're too young, and they're thinking, well, our parents got married young. Little soap opera, Romeo and Juliet thing going on there, I guess. I don't know. Um, it's kind of a, what I would call collegiate frat rock ballad type music. It's kind of a song that would not be out of place in the movie A Summer's Place or Animal House, and the background is a soundtrack. It's kind of a nice ballad. It's nothing great, but I do like it. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7. Sixth song, the last song on side one, is called "Carl's Big Chance." Carl being Carl Wilson, of course. It's an instrumental. They've had instrumentals on, I think, all of their albums up to this point. Some are some are good. Most of them are pretty forgettable. This one's kind of nice. It's a bluesy thing, but it sounds surf rock at the same time as it sounds bluesy. Nice mix of blues and surf rock melded together there. Uh, you know, pretty unsubstantial overall. Not something you're gonna seek out very often, but for what it is, it's a nice little bluesy surf rock instrumental. I give it a 7. We move on to side two. Side two opens with "Windy," another huge, famous Beach Boys song and hit. Sure, it's a favorite for a lot of Beach Boys fans. It's very, uh, harmoniously well done. It's very well constructed and put together. I always just kind of left me cold though for some reason. There's just something about it that's a little off, like they were pushing too hard and trying a little too hard to make it perfect, and it comes off just a little too slick instead of heartfelt. Not a terrible song again, and I'm sure it's a favorite of a lot of people's, Beach Boys fans especially. It just never clicked for me. So sorry, I'm gonna give it a 5. Split the difference because it's a well done song. It's just lacking something, soul, something. Uh, Do You Remember is the second song on side two. Uh, I don't like this one at all. This, the songs where they, like we're on the road and they name check cities, Houston, Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles. I never did like those songs. I never liked those songs where, with the exception of "Dance to the Music" with Sly Stone, he pulled it off. But those songs where, let's hear a little of the bass, let's hear the guitar, down, 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 let's hear the drummer, And this is one of those. It's just sort of a rote run through list of naming. Uh, do you remember the greatness of '50s rock and roll? And it's just a name check song. Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Elvis Presley, Dick Clark, and uh, has a '50s rock and roll sound to the song. It's just rote filler. Not a very good song. I'm going to give it a 2. What do we have next? "Girls on the Beach," which is a weird song. "Girls on the Beach" is Surfer Girl with different lyrics. And parts of it don't sound like Surfer Girl, but a lot of it is just the music to Surfer Girl with different lyrics. Uh, on the beach, you'll find them there instead of little surfer, little girl. Uh, it's an odd thing. It's a strange thing. Surfer Girl is a masterpiece. Surfer Girl is one of their best songs. Uh, 10 out of 10. On the Beach is just a funny, odd thing to me. Uh, Brian Wilson and Dennis Wilson sing, trade vocals on this. Dennis has some nice vocals on this, so that kind of saves the song a little bit. Other than that, it's just I don't know why they did it. Why they just rewrote a song, took the melody of another song and put new lyrics on it. It's a far cry from Surfer Girl. For what it is, I'll give it a 4. What else we got here? We got the fourth song on side 2, which is called Drive In. I like this a lot. This is really a kind of a stripped down raw sound, especially for the Beach Boys, or by Beach Boys standards. It's a propulsive little guitar driven song. The thing about it is this was written in 1963. I think it was actually recorded in 1963 and just sitting around, and I guess they tossed it on this album because they needed another song. Lyrics are cornball and silly, Leave It to Beaver stuff. A guy and a girl go to the drive-through, and the guys, or his buddies telling him, be sure to watch enough of the movie so that you can tell your parents what it was about, so that they don't think you just spent the whole time making out with your girl. Stuff like that. It's fun though. It's just got a good driving beat, and I'm going to give it a 9. Fifth song on side 2. It's called Our Favorite Recording Sessions. I think that's what it's. Yeah, Our Favorite Recording Sessions. This is filler. It's worthless. It's a shame they couldn't have come up with another song or two to fill in on this. This is like on Shutdown Volume 2. They had that Cassius Wilson versus Sonny Love or whatever. There was kind of a cornball little comedy skit taken off on the Cassius Clay Sonny Liston fight. This is just bits of them recording different songs and kind of cutting up in between. I think it's like 3 minutes of just filler and fluff. It's I'm going to give it a 1. Final song is Don't Back Down. It's one of their final surfing songs. It's basically take on that wave, don't go back down, go out and do your best and do it type song. It's kind of a maybe like a second or third rate version of Don't Worry Baby. Don't Worry Baby, of course, was about cars, hot rods, car racing. Don't Back Down is about surfing, but same general principle. It's not as good as Don't Worry Baby, but it's a nice little song. I'm going to give it a 7. So yeah, here the Beatles and Rolling Stones and the British Invasion have all come along, and this is sort of their first response to that. They're still making albums where they have some hits, and they've got a few good album cuts that were not 45s or not radio hits, and still got a lot of filler, which, the Beatles albums didn't really have filler. The Rolling Stones and first album, I think, is really good and doesn't have filler. Kinks' first album. So, they're still getting to the point of, they haven't got to the point of making whole album as a whole yet. But, I don't know. On a whole, I'm going to give this album 7.5. I think Shutdown Volume 2, the one that came out just before it, is actually quite a bit better. On this, you've got just stone cold classic songs. You've got I Get Around. I like All Summer Long. I like Drive In. Don't Back Down's all right. Wendy and Little Honda, a lot of people would pick as their favorites. That's just a personal thing. They're good songs. They just don't do much for me. Most of the rest of this is inessential to just so. So yeah, what did I say? Did I say a 7.5? I think is what I'll give this. So anyway, we'll be back with the next Beach Boy album in line. The production and songwriting is getting there. It's just on this one, it's a little bit of a stay in place or a step back maybe.